Yellowstone supervolcano, decade-long warning concerning enormous effects of a supereruption revealed by USGS. Scientists at USGS offered a 10-year warning, 10 years long, concerning the enormous effects on humans the supervolcano eruption could have after the calculation from the 80s resurfaced again. Filmora Express UK reports, the caldera lurks beneath the first ever US national park, and of course is called supervolcano because of the ability to inflict worldwide devastation, spreading across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. It's always monitored by USGS for signs of a supereruption, but as part of their volcano hazard program, scientists calculate potential effects as a result of a large eruption, that is a supereruption at Yellowstone. And the team used historic data to get an idea of what a future event would look like. It produced a scientific paper back in 1982. Those results said scientists studied 3 historical explosive eruptions of different sizes in Indonesia: Tambora 1815, Krakatau 1883, and Agung in 1963. All of them Pacific. Now, they noted that decreases in surface temperatures after the eruptions were of similar magnitude, of 0.18 to 1.3 degrees Celsius. And they said the amount of material injected into the stratosphere differed greatly, however. By comparing the estimated amount of ash versus sulfur injected into the stratosphere by each of these eruptions, it was suggested, they said, that the longer residence time of sulfate aerosols, not the ash particles which fall out within a few months of an eruption, was the paramount controlling factor, the sulfate aerosols. The paper also went on to say that how these effects can be transferred to the Yellowstone caldera. It says if another catastrophic caldera-forming Yellowstone eruption were to occur, it quite likely would alter global weather patterns and have enormous effects on human activity, especially agricultural production, for 1 to 2 decades. That's 10 to 20 years of altering, that is, decreasing, decimating, stopping agricultural production. They said, in fact, the relatively small 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines was shown to have temporarily yet measurably changed global temperatures. The 1991 Mount Pinatubo volcano of the Philippines. Scientists, however, they said at this time do not have the predictive ability to determine specific consequences of durations of possible global impacts from such large eruptions. Now we know that recently volcano of Yellowstone erupted 3 super eruptions in history, 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, 640,000 years ago, and it leaves some claiming that a massive supereruption is overdue. These self-proclaimed experts conclude that by calculating different time between each event, and the US scientist in charge, Jake Lowenstern, calls this, of course, rubbish. He told viewers in 2014 that when you see people claiming it's overdue, usually the numbers they come up with say the last supereruption was 640,000 years ago, but it erupts every 600,000 years. In fact, if you average the eruption intervals, there's 2.1 million to 1.3 million, and then another 640,000 years ago. And if you average those numbers, you come up with something that's over 700,000 years. So in reality, if you tried to make this argument, it would not be overdue for another 70,000 years. Dr. Lowenstern went on to state that even this calculation is not useful. He said the other thing that's important to realize is that when they do statistics based on 2 eruptive intervals, they're just playing games because we just don't know. There's no clock down there, and the magma is going to erupt when it wants to erupt. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the last 600,000 years that might indicate there's less likely of an eruption, the chance of an eruption. Now we'll go to the next information having to do with where the magma is being fed from underneath Yellowstone. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.